Okay, and welcome back. We're picking up where we left off last time in Strategic Command World War I in the Call to Arms campaign as the Central Powers. Before we get too embedded here, let's actually do a quick glance at the graphs. So one of the things we can take a look at is the loss reports. So the Russians are up at 9 losses, 2 for Serbia, 6 for France, 7 for the UK, 3 for Austria-Hungary, and 1 for Germany. So right now, us as the Central Powers have lost about 15% of all the troops lost in the war. So that is actually kind of a good sign. That's sort of the ratio we're going to be wanting to win the war. Yeah, we've lost 1 unit, 3 units, although those are all cores. The Russians alone have lost more cores than us as the Central Powers have. And basically the same number of that has been lost as the British and the French. National morale-wise, the British are down to 94%, so they're taking no malices yet. French are at 92, so no malices yet. Serbians hold strong, 97. Russians are down to 93. We're over 100% on the Germans, down to 94 as the Austro-Hungarians. The Ottomans have just joined the war. They are taking some damage, so the Basar, for example, dropped to 90. And just a reminder, to win, we need to get 2 of Russia, France, and the UK to either surrender or hit 0 national morale, so they surrender that way. Before Germany does, basically, to get major victories. Right now, as things stand, the Allies control Paris and Verdun. And Cairo, I believe. So right now, if we hit the end of times, which we probably won't, the Allies will have a minor victory. Or the Entente will have the minor victory. It's not World War II, it's World War I. Gotta remember to use the right terms. So let's start having, not the Ottomans in the war. We'll start over the Ottoman side, because the Ottoman side will be fairly simple. We'll get those detachments dug in. We'll start bringing down the HQs. And actually, there is some partisan hexes over here that I hadn't noticed in my last run. And then there's the partisan hexes down here. These ones, I believe, activate via event. I may simply accept those are going to activate. That'll lower, well, and we're not going to cover them. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to give up trying to cover these. That'll result in Lawrence of Arabia doing his thing. Although Lawrence specifically will spawn here. We're going to basically accept that we're probably going to lose Medina. We're probably going to lose Agrabah. Might be pronouncing that wrong. And then we're probably going to try to hold everywhere else as the Ottomans. We are going to get pushed back. We're probably not going to hold the port here. And when this port comes into threat, this unit's actually going to start coming up here. No point in having this unit get cut off. And this unit alone is not going to be enough to suppress all these partisan hexes. Although, one thing I can do is we're going to actually move it off of Medina. It doesn't need to be on Medina. That we can suppress at least 2 of the 4. That means the first uprising will be over here. And if we haven't moved this guy out of there by that time, he'll be able to make a safer run for it. In an attempt to initially stall, we are going to push these guys forward down the road. We're going to get a detachment by event as well. Or shrinkage attachment by advent as well. Do I force march to get into position? The Russians are coming. Let's force march to get into position. Okay, you can dig in there, so we'll dig in there. And you got there. Enough to spare, so we can dig in there as well. Oh, you've got the action points, you can dig in there. We'll dig in there. Hopefully that means you don't get dinged too much by the early Russian advance, or get reinforced. Yeah, probably going to need at least another unit temporarily to stall the line, so we need you east while these guys are marching over. Okay, for the moment, let's put the damaged ships in port. We'll leave the battle cruiser here out in the open. They're unlikely necessarily to come to buffers. Once we get those repaired, we can start doing a little bit more harassing. Sure, let's take the ding. And then we'll start sneaking back for supply reasons. Oh, I hit the French sub. Interesting. Can I get down to dink it? Yes. Oh, no, I found the British sub. Was able to dink the French one. Okay. And move the cruisers in case I need to screen the destroyer on its way back. We don't want this unit destroyed, so we're going to heal here. Okay, I'm like I regenerated. It's tempting, but we're gonna resist the urge to take the temptation. So I'm gonna regenerate you. Your trench is the wrong facing, so let's fix that. Effectively holding the old ones there. You're dug into the trenches facing the right way, yes. So let's reinforce there. We don't need depleted. You need to recover, so we don't lose you. That's one of the reasons things have been going pretty bad over here, so we've been running out of capacity on our fighting troops. 1 to 4 is too tempting to take. Ooh! 1 to 4, or 2 to 4 turned into 3 to 3. Got the bad roll. So these guys gotta have pretty terrible supply. Yeah. See, once these guys are operational next turn, you will be able to just tear them a new one. Okay. So that should keep him from running around and doing too much crazy. 1 to 7. Oh, I can't resist. One to 5. We'll take the 1 to 5 because that'll slow down them trying to sneak behind us. 1 to 4 or 1 to 3. We'll take the 1 to 4. I probably should be using the recon plane more, but that's an oops. Okay. It's tempting to beat up that British colonial unit. Oh, well, that's probably focusing away where I should be on the line. There's probably where I want to be attacking for attacking. Let's move the artillery there. 2 to 4, 2 and 2, 2 and 2. The entrenchment will reduce by the first attack going in. Maybe on the next turn. Yeah, you're too tempting. We're gonna recon. Gonna use the cav to run forward and put the trench in. And then we'll probably replace it with 1 of our infantry here. Okay, so I can free up 2 units here pretty safely. Push them down to Serbia or push them to Russia. I think the answer has to be Serbia at this point. I need to get Serbia moving again. Can I pull a third one? Well, I can totally pull it. It doesn't mean I should pull it. Yeah, let's pull this one. Don't want to do a fair trade with the Russians yet. Let's look at the naval theater first. So let's put you over there. If there wasn't the destroyer here, we'd probably try to go after the battleship. Instead, we're going to go to silent mode. Sneak through the blockade like so. Our supply is only at 7, so I'm definitely down to keep trying to raid here. Let's go to silent and try to duck the destroyer. I'm hoping that the AI thinks that we've got the sub down here, and we'll start pulling the destroyer down the line, and then we can just swap which one's doing what. Okay. We'll move you. We're actually moving to Leash. The biggest struggle I got right now with the Austrian-Hungarian Navy is the only ship I have that can damage the subs is the destroyer. So I do need to be conservative with that destroyer and not get it destroyed. That's why I was basically keeping port unless I was going up against subs. Okay, so we've done the Ottoman side. We're not quite ready to attack here. We may start, well, with the Germans coming in, we'll definitely start putting pressure with that stable. We've taken all the good opportunities here. Might swap one of these detachments and put it in the garrison as the Karkov. Attack these, you can't reinforce there. Okay. So, end of the last episode, we did get told and reminded that as the Germans go to the convoy map, you can give MPP to the Austro-Hungarians. You're going to go and set that to max. So the Austro-Hungarians will get 41 MPP per turn, or every turn. Technically, it's 10% of whatever Germany makes. And the Germans obviously will get that less. We will go ahead and do that. Because you can see almost immediately from the reserve points over here. The Germans are much better off than the Austro-Hungarians. And the Ottomans only look as good as they are because we've been hoarding points as the Ottomans. So what's the Austro-Hungarian, or no, is the Germans. Oh, I'm gonna want that magic. I want at least one of the magic cores, if not both magic cores. Yeah, I'm gonna be a bit greedy here. I'm just gonna grab both mountain cores. We'll go the artillery. I'm gonna do a artillery and a mountain core. February might be a little late to get to the Italian border for the first wave. And that is going to be a concern, is I don't think... Well, I can probably pull another unit off of the Western Front, but I'm starting to run out of spare units to pull from there. And there is still some limited offensives we want to do from there. No, you should probably heal up. It's tempting is to take a 2-5 or 2-4. And then you're 2-2, so we don't want to do those. We'll take that heal. Okay, so that's the Germans. Not purchase research. We don't have enough as the Austro-Hungarians to pick anything up. No, we'd want to pick up. I suppose we could take a fighter development. With no fighters, that's a bit early. Okay. And then we are going to purchase as the Ottomans. We're going to get our first artillery in the queue. That'll show up February 19. And that's going to be the artillery that probably delivers us Cairo eventually. We'll bring that down here. It'll be the supporting fire to push that way. Granted, that's why we went for artillery weapons development as the Ottomans. Is to make that artillery useful for attacks. I think I'm going to save up the rest of the MPP as the Ottomans. You'll notice a lot of the units are damaged by the typhoid epidemic. So we're going to have to do some repairs, and the fleet needs some repairs. Although, do I have entrenchment as the Ottomans? No. Take one level of entrenchment as the Ottomans. We'll start getting that ticking. We'll save the rest for repairing troops. Let's end the turn. Germany celebrates the Ottoman entrance to the war, so I believe this is a national morale buff for the Germans and the Austro-Hungarians. Ottoman morale falls due to the loss of Basara. I believe we've actually already been hit with the national morale effect from this, but that's the official event. Chancellor Theobald von Bethmann-Hollweg. Max von Oppenheim, the head of our intelligence bureau for the East, informs us the Indian nationalist Ghadar party is plotting to drive the British from their country. Successful, their rising could inflict a devastating blow against the British Empire, hoping to pave the way for a victory against our most powerful enemy. Would you like to authorize the payment of 25 MPPs to buy arms from the Indian nationalists? They mean to have thousands of supporters and ask for weapons to use in their rising. If you agree, our military attaché in Washington, D.C. Would be instructed to buy weapons from armed dealer in the USA and send by sea to India. These weapons will be used in insurrection in Bengal that is planned to start on Christmas Day 1915. So that's already more than a year in the future. It is aimed to seize Calcutta before spreading throughout the rest of India. So yes, there's a small chance of a rising in India. Note, small, which will disrupt the UK income from the British Empire. However, it's more likely the plot will be discovered and no rising will occur. We're doing no. I want those MPPs for other things. Grand Vizier Sad Halim Pasha. An outbreak of typhus affecting the combat effectiveness of our troops in the force in the east. The local medical facilities cannot cope with the number of requiring treatment, and if we do not act, then an epidemic is likely to severely decimate our units. We are going to say yes to this. Provide extra medical aid to the area will cost us 50 MPP at the cost of 25 a turn. It won't prevent all further cases, but saying yes to this will be able to limit their extent to which the epidemic spreads. We're saying no will lead to much greater losses in our forces. Therefore, it's strongly recommended to say yes to this. Saying yes to this will limit the effects, whereas saying no, it's the element force to suffer far more sickness than they would have done. We're going to lose 150-something thousand to typhus. We're saying yes to mitigate the damage. Italian nationalists claim Trento and Trieste as Italian territory. France increases arm production in the southwest. Indian Cavalry Corps lands at Marseille. Entente naval units blockade imports to Germany in the North Sea. Khedive Abbas of Egypt promises to help drive the British from Egypt. British depose the Khedive and appoint Hussein Kamal as Sultan of Egypt. Karl Liebknecht openly denounces the war in the Reichstag. So notice he had little, I think that was Communist Germany flags. I think he was a socialist. Germany develops trench warfare level 1. Okay. So that will begin to encourage the calcination of the front in the west, saving us MPP to send elsewhere. Because of us sending supplies to Austria-Hungary and the payments to agents in the French Morocco, we're only getting just short of 400 MPP as the Germans. Although there's now 257 arriving in Austria-Hungary. And the Ottomans are down to 100. Although now they're in the war, they're getting a lot more, so that's probably about where we were for the previous couple turns anyway. Hamilton is appointed command of the Mediterranean Expeditionary Force. Ah! We got hit by our own mines! The destroyer retreated into the mines it itself laid. Oof. Well, we've lost our destroyer until we can replace the destroyer. That will actually potentially be a problem. Battleship runs across her sub. Of course, it located the sub. It located the subs for the destroyer. Oh, that was a good exchange for the sub. Well, we know where the main British battle group is. Not that that tells us anything useful. Please retreat, Cav. Thank you. Yes, exhaust yourselves, Russians. Here comes the Russian reinforcements operating in That's why we were in a little bit of a rush to get to where we wanted to defend in the Ottoman Empire. We did get the HQ dinked there, which wasn't super ideal. Though it could definitely be worse. Could have lost the cav and had the HQ dinked, which would have been worse. There's the Royal Navy defeating the Von Spee at the Battle of the Falklands. Typhus epidemic breaks out in Serbia. So that's actually pretty good timing because we're about to go on the offensive in Serbia. Central Power Raiders are disrupting the France-Serbian convoy. Having completed his training, Ernst Juger is sent to the front. Thomas Masaryk goes in exile to seek support for the Czechoslovakian independence. And winter is arriving. It's a little bit better than the rain for our purposes. Naval detachment is destroyed, although that was the only unit destroyed, so that's, from a unit destruction standpoint, not too bad. Submarine. And another destroyer. Sadly, we can't put this down in the Austro-Hungarian area because we lost the destroyer down there. Austro-Hungarian Corps. Deployed over here because I think we're going to try to straighten the line out here before winter sets in too much. So let's do the Ottoman front first, because it should hopefully be the shortest of fronts. You're pushing forward. You're pushing forward. You're pushing forward. We're going to leave you there to suppress the partisans. Once these guys get forward, I may actually push you back to suppress that one. What's the supply situation down here? That's the supply one? That's the supply one. 2. Okay, so the supply situation down here right now is bad. Given that, we're not advancing in the supply situation. Go back to Baghdad. Need to reinforce you. Are we dug in? We're not dug in there, so to quickly dig that trench where the Russians come. You need to dig. You're dug in, so we're going to have you probably reinforce. And the HQs, so we can afford it. We can afford one, not the other. Okay. I'm going to scoot you up. I'm going to dig in here. That way we get the bonus of both the river and the trenches. Compensate. Well, I think the river might be about as valuable as the city is for defense purposes. So maybe that's not a lot. But it's more than nothing. Get you to Gallipoli. And we're basically ready here on the west for Bulgaria to join. Duggan. You're suppressing partisans. Okay. Okay, so we recon that position. We're still being told that it's going to be a 1-1 attack. We're still going to do the attack though. And then, again, I don't have a way to deal that sub, so we need to go back to port. Although I need to get this sub back to port. Because the supply is low, so we're going to go silent. And then you can pull back like so. So we're going to stop interdicting that trade route, which is a little bit of a problem. Turn the raider off because you're not raiding, obviously. Okay, so that's the Serbian. What limited funds or attacks are going to do on the Serbian front? I might get stuck here. I might have to wait for the artillery to get going again, which wouldn't be good. 0-0-1 we'll take. It's probably going to be... It told us 0-1 and then said it was 1-0, which is kind of the opposite of what we wanted. Not flying that for a mistake twice. 1-2 is tempting. We're going to swap the position of these guys. No, I think the weather is just saying no for the attacks for the moment. Like, that's the most promising because we're attacking someone who's not got the trench facing the right way. Oh, and because we had the HQ here, it wasn't entrenched, so we need to put entrenchment in. You to regenerate. I think we're just going to regenerate here. We're going to accept that winter has arrived. So those 4 could technically go up to 11 due to veterancy, but because they're immediately adjacent to an enemy, they can't. Got a couple forces over here that we could rail out if I was desperate for other forces elsewhere. So let's see how our counterattacks here go. Generate there. And then you're the vulnerable we want to probably beat up on. 0-0? No, the Russians learned how to dig quick this game. No, don't do that. Okay, we're not super concerned. I'm going to take the risk of a 0-1. We did get the 1, didn't get Dinkin backed. Okay. Not going to take a 1-1. You're not dug in, so do some shoveling. I have recon range there, no. Let's recon you. Try to minimize that salient if we can. And or at least force the Russians to reinforce it. Here we go. We'll probably be able to crush it on the next turn. Doubly so if the weather improves. Okay, so now we're on to purchasing and reinforcing. We spent quite a bit this turn, so we're not going to be purchasing anything. Because what we'd be wanting is like mountain cores, artillery, which we can't really afford right now. Although we can probably pick up some research. Austria-Hungary, you are going to want infantry weapons at some point, so let's get that started. Let's speed up the trenching. We've picked up the first trench warfare as the Germans. Means we can invest in number 4. And we are probably one up faster gas shell production. Wait, let's pick up trench warfare. And let's actually pick up more industry, so we can get the industry going a bit faster. The sooner we invest in the industry, the sooner it will be done, providing us more MPP to spend on other things. Okay, so once more, we're at the point where we're going to cycle the turn and see what the Entente has in... Oh, actually, did I... We haven't done the boats. It's tempting, but we're right in the face of a destroyer, so let's not. Swap to silent. Boat away from them. You've still got supply 7, so other than the fact that you've been dinked, you're not too bad off. Let's go. I think it's still early enough in the winter where the Russians may be receiving supplies from the UK, so we'll keep being on that line. At this point, you're probably past the blockade, so I'm going to swap you to hunting mode and get on the trade lines over there. That will interdict the Canada-UK and the US-UK lines. Okay, that's not actually the naval war. So we have another sub that can go out. We have another one standing up there that we can send out. Yeah. Okay, winter has come. It's time to cycle the turn. Hopefully they get about as bad weather as we did, because that weather was not conducive as much to attacking as I'd hoped. Karl, Franz, Josef. Nationalist figures in Italy are calling for war against us unless we hand over areas of Trento, Trieste, and Trieste to Italy. The transfer of territory they are demanding would include the city and port of Trieste. Trieste, yeah, that's an important port. And the towns of Trento and Bruneck. However, if we were to give these places to Italy, this would massively reduce Italy's desire for war against us. Would you like to transfer them to Italy? And the answer is no. Agreeing to transfer Trento and Trieste will only reduce our economy. Well, not only reduce our economy, but doing so will be deeply unpopular. Indeed, such a move would be met with massive opposition from our own population, would have huge negative impacts on the nation's morale. Nevertheless, doing this would almost certainly end Italy's moves to enter the war, enabling us to devote all our attention to fighting the Russians and Serbs. We're saying no. So at this point, we see the detachments appearing to defend those locations. Anzac arrives in England. Typhus spreads throughout Serbia, so Serbia's getting more. That's good, because I really need to get on the offensive again. It's eating up their MPP, trying to repair that. It's useful. Soldiers suffer as authorities attempt to bring the typhus epidemic under control. Entente naval unit blockade in port to Germany in the North Sea. Fighting on the Western Front ceases on Christmas Day. Austrian physicist Erwin Schrödinger is among those posted to serve on the Italian border. 430 for Germany. We're still paying the 40 to Austria-Hungary. 256 for Austria-Hungary, and 152 for the Ottomans. Okay, so they paid the price to reinforce the salient. That's aggressive battleship deployment. We'll see if it's still there when it comes our turn. Now, really appreciating the extra entrenchment we got. Seeing lots of damage to those attacking us. Although the attrition is adding up and it's going to be reasonably expensive on our end. Khan forces occupy Lemnos. Central Power Raiders disrupt the Canada-UK convoy. Taunt naval units north of Scotland blockade imports to Germany. Taunt naval units blockade imports to Germany in the North Sea. Soldiers of the 130th Baluchi Regiment mutiny at Bombay. I think that is a weather improvement for us. Maybe not for the planes, but I think for the ground troops. As we roll into January. No loss of units. We did lose some territory. Preparing for the war with Italy. Chief of General Staff Conrad von Hotzendorf. Given the rise of nationalist settlements in Italy led by people like Gabriele de Annunzio, who are calling for war against us, we must maintain units in Trento, Klagenfurt, and Trieste. Where we are to remove these units, then Italy could easily seize the locations, and the result would be catastrophic. The fall of Basara is a painful loss. Should we consider taking action here? Suleiman Askari Bey, head of our special organizations, asks permission to form a unit of volunteers in Mesopotamia to strike back at the British. Additionally, German officer Captain Fritz Klein is volunteering to lead a mission to sabotage the production of the Abadan oil refinery. Forming Askari's volunteer detachment and providing Klein with the means to lead his mission will cost us 55 MPP. Would you like to authorize the payments, strengthen our position in Mesopotamia? We're going to do yes here. Saying yes to this will reduce the enemy's ability to advance further into Mesopotamia, and Klein's mission has a 75% chance of damaging the refinery, in which case the enemy income will suffer slightly. Was named Governor Commandant of Basara, and the forces of 4,000 regulars and 150,000, or 4,000 regulars and 15,000 irregulars was mustered for an attack on Basara, but it failed, and then he committed suicide. Klein's team was more successful as it did manage to sabotage 12 miles of pipelines at the refinery, but it only deprived the UK of 70 gallons of oil. We're going to go and do yes. So that gives us a detachment. We got a new dreadnought, and we got a new sub. So the weather has improved. Let's do the reinforcing on the western front first. Oh, why can't I reinforce you? Is the supply really that bad out there? Yes. Okay. We'll move a reserve over there so the reserve can be prepared to do that reinforcing. The rest of the front line we should be able to just... You know, same with you. That's the mud, I suppose, coming into play. So repairing the HQ will help with that. That's kind of what I get for having the HQ dinked. Yeah, this is definitely better attacking weather. Can I recon the 7? Yeah, let's recon the 7. Okay, so the proximity to our ports here has allowed the sub to resupply. Honestly, with our destroyer down, I'm tempted to try to lure the enemy destroyers in here. Okay, so we got detected by the other sub, which does mean we actually can't come out of silent running to actually hunt on the trade line, so we're just going to slink away like so. Their battleship is still there. 5-2? Really? Enemy contact. What's up? Okay. Predict the 5-6. That's going to hurt a lot. Oh, never mind. Light Cruiser doesn't have enough juice. Now I know that you're there. Can I get past? Yes. I want to reinforce the destroyer so we can lift this up, but we're not going to be able to do that right now. I got other priorities. The land front is a little bit of a priority. Dug in, dug in, dug in. You're not dug in. That is an acceptable place for you to dig in, so dig in for the moment. Push you a little farther forward. Push you a little farther forward. Okay. So that's the Ottomans. Let's reinforce you. You. Actually, I might have enough for the destroyer repair. That's enough where I can probably risk it taking a run at the sub on the next turn. The sub's still there. The sub won't still be there. It'll run off. Yeah, we got some motion going on again in the Serbia front. We deal with this one, and this one will then have Belgrade on five sides. 5 sides on Belgrade will be enough to get Belgrade to come down reasonably. And to be fair, we're probably going to see some reorganization around here. If for no other reason, then the Serbians are going to recognize they don't even have enough of a front line to protect their 2 HQs. Montenegro and the Serbian HQs. So they'll probably try to redeploy a little bit to defend those a bit better. So that's the Serbian front, that's the Ottoman front. We did the Western front. So it is the Eastern Front and the Naval Theater. Let's do the Naval Theater first. So you have full supply, and okay, at this point, the Russian trade shut down. So let's bring you back to resupply, repair. Let's try to sneak you out. In, well, this case, I'm hunting the battleship. Is that actually where it went? Yes. Can we get in range? No. Shame. Last turn, sub. Let's get it out. Let's do a reconnaissance run. I doubt because we found British elsewhere. Doubt there's any British out here, but do the recon run. No reason not to. We're gonna save resources over here. Okay, so you got 8 points of supply. Continue sailing away from where the British probably are. We're coming back to resupply. If the battleships hang out around there and destroy doesn't show up, we'll screw with them. So yeah, now it's just the Eastern Front. Is the weather more conducive to attacking? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, this is good weather. One v4, one full health, yes. It was 133 in fact, but close. Okay. So that was a vicious turn as far as chewing up Russian forces, just as the port from which they can receive more UK support freezes up, so they're getting no reinforcements from the UK. We are going to have to free more troops up for the Italian border. That's all the border towns held. Need you to potentially supply situations to improve. Desperate, I could pull you. Yeah, that's basically the only person I can pull if we're desperate from that front. So I do need to get the other fronts to shrink so I can pull more forces for the Italian one or recruit more forces. We've got plenty of troops over here we could reinforce if they were inactive. If they had been inactive. Let's get those guys reinforced. We're fighting. We'll reinforce you. We're fighting over here, so most of those guys can't do anything. Okay. So that's the resources I have with which to recruit or attack. I think I've already reinforced on this front, yeah. So again, tempting to save it for the artillery. It's going to be a bit late, I think, for the Italian entry into the war if I recruit right now. Although the mountain troops would be the ideal reinforcement if something's going terribly. And if I'm going to grab a corps for that front, it is definitely a mountain corps. So we'll go ahead and we'll purchase the mountain corps. Austria-Hungary can't afford a mountain corps. Could afford some detachments. I don't think we're that desperate right now. Jump to detachments. Research-wise, you've got infantry weapon under going. Not going to get faster artillery on you. Let's grab the 4th on trench. And the 1st on gas. Gas and shell. Oh, and then research. Austria, or not, Ottomans. We got one in trench. Okay. Can't afford, or we can afford infantry. Let's get the infantry going for the Ottomans. And we've got 70 here, 71 here, which isn't enough for production, isn't enough for industry. We don't have any more trench to pick up. I think only having one sub underway at a time is fine for the moment. Don't need airship. Okay, we're just going to hold on to this one. Hold on to the 70 MPP. We're going to go ahead and end the turn then. Look at the time, I probably ran this part a little long. As soon as we see the Entente turn, we're going to end the episode here. So the Canadian Expeditionary Force completes its training and deploys. More socialist strikes. So workers on the Clyde strike over conditions. Hit with rough seas. Hit with rough seas. Didn't take any damage though, so that's fine. We're getting blockaded at both blockade locations. Dozens are killed when Indian soldiers mutiny in Singapore. The pro-German Boer revolt in South Africa has been crushed. D.W. Griffith's The Birth of a Nation is released at cinema. Scientists report progress in artillery weapon development, bringing it to 100%, giving us artillery weapons 1. So, not next turn, but the turn after next, we will be able to really make that artillery very deadly. Scientists report progress in the command and control development. So, Ottomans pick up level 1 on that. Denmark, Norway, food supply smuggling. We're down to 435 because we're back into spring, I think, here. Austria-Hungary collects. Ottoman Empire collects. Ow. Submarine dies. Good. Slightly concerning that it is now good weather for the Ottomans to, or not the Russians to do their attacks. I was hoping the bad weather would continue a little bit longer. That Russian mountain unit is going to be a problem from its potential to do damage early on here. That one isn't. Although the good weather may be an issue. Yeah, the good weather was an issue. Yeah, the good weather's being a problem. Although that'll probably be mutual, so we're going to go into a little bit of a bloody phase here. So this is one good thing about having those units destroyed, where they're not encircled, is we'll get a cheaper replacement for them. And then we'll probably end up playing the cheaper replacement to reinforce the Italian border. Norway complains about Entente attacks on their merchantmen. Italian nationalists call for Italy to enter the war. Giant locust swarm wreaks havoc in and around Jerusalem. Deserters from the Ottoman army attack Ottoman outposts in Mesopotamia. Central Power raiders disrupt Canada as the UK convoy. Taunt naval units north of Scotland are doing a blockade, and in the North Sea. Prime Minister Karl von Sturgel unveils the Warrior of Iron in Vienna. So we lost 2 corps, so it wasn't a particularly great turn from casualties. Though we did stop some MPPs. And we are, in fact, getting our Mountain Corps before Italy enters the war. Okay. And our artillery, the 3rd and the 2nd, arrive. Which is going to be a problem for the Russians. Although I'm a little concerned about how holy the German lines are in the north at the moment. Maybe it was a bit too aggressive and we got some voids. Got a new Austro-Hungarian sub. Probably would actually prefer an Austro-Hungarian destroyer, but we got a sub. We got some artillery to help with our attacks. Yeah, I'm gonna field it here. There's the Ottoman Ottoman artillery. In a way, I think that actually came earlier than I was expecting it to. We'll field it here, and I'll start walking down there. This is where we're gonna put the part break in. We're gonna pick up from where we left off in the next part tomorrow. If you're on YouTube, if you're here on Twitch, where I am recording this live. We will return to recording as soon as I've made a new cup of tea, and then we will be attacking. And I suspect there will be many destroyed Russian units. The artillery weren't quite doing a lot yet. The artillery needs a turn. In fact, the artillery needs 2 turns. It's not active yet, so that's one you can see is grayed out. This one's grayed out. Yeah, and the free ones appear to have been half value. So this is a 5, this is a 5. So those ones are actually going to need an extra turn. So we're going to need 1 to get them the artillery upgrade, 1 to get them up to 10. We can't even start in that turn, so they're going to be a couple turns out, and then they will be quite dangerous. But that's not this turn in Italy, or not this turn in France, but next turn in France. The artillery will begin to rain, and it's not going to be every turn, but every couple of turns, there's going to be a dead French corps because the artillery is going to completely remove its entrenchment, and then the infantry will go in. In fact, the French haven't apparently learned how to dig trenches yet, so actually the French are going to have a very bad day. The French are going to have a very bad day. But yeah, this is where the part break is. So if you're watching on YouTube, part tomorrow. Twitch, as soon as we're done making cup of tea. With that, wish you all the best of luck and a good time. Catch you all in the next part, and bye for now.